welcome. And thanks all of you for being here today. Moments that matter. I think each of you has this annual report at your seats, at your seat. This year's theme. These moments that matter they're at the heart of our work, because the moments that matter reflect our impact and the power of people committed to a common good. But sometimes we can be distracted by things that pull us away from our mission, and we can be tested. A month and a half ago, I was at Sunday Mass listening to Luke's Gospel, chapter 10, the story of Martha and Mary. In the passage, when Jesus visited them, Martha was somewhat exasperated, feeling burdened with much service, while Mary remained calm and at peace, trusting in the Lord. After hearing the full narrative, I was immediately embarrassed by my realization of how easily I connected with Martha's experience. Especially during this time of pandemic, with the work that we do at Catholic Charities, it's been easy to relate to her feeling of being burdened with much service and the accompanying overwhelming feelings and sometimes even anxiety in our attempt to meet every need, to hire new staff, or please every client or colleague or multiple stakeholders during this frenetic time. To exacerbate things, over the past year, a lot of excess noise from some dissonant and disparate voices who fed into false narratives about our work often pulled us away from our center, from our mission, leaving us sometimes feeling deflated. Then I thought of Mary and her response to Jesus, bound by trust and faith. She sat and listened intently, waiting for him to speak, and through him knew all would be well. During this time when it's incredibly easy to be distracted by all of life's noise, it can be easy to forget to be like Mary, to take moments to pause, to breathe, and to heal, thereby giving ourselves space to hear something other than the noise of life, and to remember and better appreciate the moments that matter. And for us, what mattered were the many Christ moments that reflect who we are and how we evangelize through our work and programs at Catholic Charities, through the healing and compassionate hands of our healthcare workers, many who are here tonight, through Brandy, a former client at New Generation, and her journey towards sobriety, incredible motherhood, and a second chance to give back as a Catholic Charities case manager at New Generation. Or through Clement's epic 8th grade graduation from St. Charles School in Rochester, and how that moment paved a way to a promising future as he transitioned to a traditional school this year. Big or small, whether it took days or years to get there, moments like these are what matter most at the end of the day, and are proof that the outside noise and distractions we face can never take away from who we are and the sacred work that we do. This year, moving from year 2 to year 3 of the pandemic, we've certainly kept busy as an organization. So for the left-brainers in the audience, let me indulge you with a bit of data from just some of our programs. Over the past year, we had a 19.6% increase in the number of clients served. 25,000 plus volunteer miles driven for our Caring Rides program in Greater Manchester and Greater Nashua. Monadnock at Home Senior Support Services in the western part of the state served 22% more clients. Liberty House, our veterans program in Manchester, served 52% more men in transitional housing and 340% more community vets, both male and female, with clothing, food, and other essential items. New Generation, supported in the back there, a women's and children's transitional living home in Greenland on the seacoast, was at capacity with a waiting list by this past June. Mental health counseling clients increased by 14%, and the food bank distributed 17 million pounds of food. So as you can guess, demand for our services continues to grow. Moments also matter in how Catholic Charities serves others. Pope Francis wrote about it when he said, we were put in this world to love God and to love our neighbors. Everything else passes away. Only this remains. Tragedy in the form of pandemic, the plight of the immigrant, genocide, poverty, ageism, indifference, summons us to take seriously that which should be taken serious, and to not be caught up in those matters that matter less. To rediscover that life is of no use if not used to serve others, for life is measured by love. God has entrusted us with caring for his flock, and it's a privilege and indeed essential that we serve and assist the voiceless, the invisible, the oppressed. Pope Francis's words also bring me back to Martha and Mary. In my Martha mindset this past year, on occasion, I fell into worry about various publics who didn't always agree with some of our services, our pro-life decisions regarding life at all stages, and our support for the stranger or the disenfranchised. But in my Mary mindset, to balance that, I implicitly trust, through God's grace, that he's driving the way in how he wants us to serve, how he wants us to lead. This makes me think of one of the core tenets of Catholic social teaching, namely solidarity. Although it's typically viewed as a principle, Father Charles Bouchard from the Catholic Health Association says it can also qualify as a virtue, an acquired quality of character perfected by grace. As we face racism and many other forms of intolerance, solidarity helps us to see differences and to not ignore or suppress them. Solidarity reminds us that despite racial, economic, or cultural differences, we're more alike than not. It helps us to see immigrants, for example, from all races and backgrounds as children of God, remembering that we too, as early Christians, were once immigrants in a strange land in search of a better life. Aside from this, we continue to address the pandemic with traditional thinking about justice, equity, and the common good. I know that our nursing facilities, for example, required vaccinations even when they were unpopular because of our commitment to the common good and to solidarity. Even Pope Francis encourages vaccinations as an act of love. And these vaccinations ended up saving countless lives. While some of our residents still contract the virus and have become mildly ill post-vaccine, they're no longer dying. Thank God. In our nursing facilities, as we continue to aim to rebuild census in light of staffing challenges and prepare for this winter with potentially more outbreaks and iterations of COVID, we continue to remain proud of our consistently 4- and 5-star rated facilities around the state. And looking toward post-COVID planning, within the last year, 2 efforts by the federal government and the Academy of Sciences were initiated to prevent the COVID experience in long-term care from being repeated. The proposed reforms are aimed at improving the quality and safety of nursing home care, enhancing oversight and ownership transparency related to private equity firms, adding minimum staffing requirements, and instituting a more stable financing system, potentially as a federal benefit. With the country's booming aging population, especially here in New Hampshire, as the second oldest state in the nation, the need for aging services continues and will continue to grow. And the timing is right for the recommendations of these 2 initiatives to instigate critical changes needed now across the national long-term care landscape. In Jim Smith's words from a recent edition of Health Progress, He states, God asks us to dare to create something new. We cannot return to the false securities of the political and economic systems we had before the crisis. We need economies that give everyone access to the fruits of creation, to the basic needs of life, land, lodging, and labor. We need a politics that can integrate and dialogue with the poor and the excluded, that gives people a say in the decisions that affect their lives. We need to slow down, take stock, and design better ways of living together. Bearing that in mind, within this next year, with thoughtfulness and focused intention, we have many, many exciting things in store. We'll look to grow and more formidably develop our organization-wide culture change initiative by hiring a manager of culture and employee engagement. We'll look to break ground on potentially several hundred new affordable and middle market, independent, tech-enabled senior living apartments with supportive social services from Catholic Charities like case management, counseling, clinical support, transportation services, to name a few. We're also looking to grow our Caring Rides program for seniors to include some of the Lakes region areas. And we're looking to expand the food bank's storage and distribution capacity, hoping to find the most appropriate warehouse space in the North Country. Finally, we'll continue pulling out all the stops in our staff retention and recruitment efforts, as well as increasing our advocacy efforts related to various social injustices and nursing home reform, which will include advocating for much needed critical funding in light of our state's Medicaid reimbursements rates being some of the lowest in the nation. Lastly, in addition to thanking our incredible board, most of them who are here tonight, and committee members, and all of our committed, capable, and compassionate staff, I thank all of you who continue to support us year after year as we continue to adapt and respond to the ever-changing and ever-evolving needs around our state. I'm both humbled and grateful. Your trust in us and belief in our work make every moment matter, and every moment incredible, because they reflect the transformative changes among those we serve, really all because of you. God is good. In gratitude and with a prayer of God's blessings, I thank you for being here today.